evening and welcome. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad that you have chosen to join me tonight for another night of information, revelation, and change. Tonight's show is going to be phenomenal, as I always say. It's going to be an amazing show. I know some of you are probably looking and saying, wait a minute. I saw the advertisement and it said that it was going to be a replay of a show, and it is going to be a replay of a show. I wanted to talk to you all. I've missed you the past couple of weeks when I have not been here. Um, but it's another Friday night, and I am so glad that you've allowed me in your homes, your cars, wherever you're listening. And I hope that tonight's show is going to be something that's going to really like minister to you, really talk to you, really get some conversations going, not just conversation, just regular old run of the mill conversation, but a good deep conversation, because tonight we're talking about little foxes. And if you all saw that show before, it's good for you to watch it again, because sometimes the second time around, you get things that you didn't get the first time around. And we did a show where I collaborated with Andrea Hines, Dr. Hines. She has a show on Thursday, which is When Life Speaks. And I have my show on Friday, which is Whole and Beautiful. So When Life Speaks and Whole and Beautiful came together to have a discussion. Part one was last night, and then part two is tonight. So if you miss any of those, you can go back and you can listen. You can listen to part two again tomorrow at 4 p.m., but you can listen to part one tomorrow at 12 at noon. Go back and listen to it. Send us your comments about it. Send me an email at wholebeautiful@gmail.com. Let me know how it ministered to you, what stuck out to you. Did you like that type of show where we came together as one to do like those two different shows, the two parts on two different nights? I think that it's awesome that we be able to do that sometimes. So we'll be doing that sometimes in the future. But guys, remember that we are doing couples conversations. I'm still looking for some couples, and a few people have gotten in contact with me. So I am going to look into that so we can get some more couples on and talk to them. And I'm looking to just talk to many people this upcoming season as we're getting ready to close out the year. So if you think that you're that guest that I'm looking for, let me know. Whole and Beautiful at Gmail, wholebeautiful@gmail.com. Send me an email. I will contact you and we'll get you on the show. I would love to interview you. I would love to find out about you, because we say all the time that everybody has a story. It's just a matter of if they want to tell it. So guys, I pray that your weekend is awesome, that it is great. And as we're preparing to get ready to listen to Little Foxes, again, that discussion that we had a few months ago, join in the conversation. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what your response is to some of those questions and some of those things that we're talking about. We would love to hear from you. Okay. So remember to send those emails, wholebeautiful@gmail.com. Now, guys, I am going to get ready to get out your way and let you hear Little Foxes. So enjoy tonight's show, and make sure you leave a comment. Make sure that you like and you share this broadcast with somebody else. Just don't keep it to yourself. Let somebody else know that this discussion was going on and that it was amazing and that they need to listen to it too. So have a great weekend. I'll see you all again next week on Friday at 7 p.m. I'll be right back here again, and we will be here with Whole and Beautiful to share some more information, revelation, and change. Let's get now to Little Foxes. You can take it away, Alan.
22 and 24. And there is Miss Angie. Miss Angie, are you going to stay and play with us tonight?
Hopefully I can.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's happening, but I tell you what, I'm really glad that you are here. I tried to open your show as best I could, but I tell you what, there's a certain flair to welcoming the whole and beautiful nation, and I don't have it. But I was just going over. I had just finished reading the poem that we had last night and was kind of reviewing the ABCs of compromise. But why don't you go ahead and welcome your nation and do what you usually do? And I'm going to step back here and let you have it, lady. Don't freeze.
I hope that I will
That
not
is
be.
not allowed.
Ooh, well, welcome. This is Friday. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela D. Oliphant, your host, and I know you all have been sitting here with Miss Andrea L. Hines, which I am so grateful and so thankful for her to continue on what we were talking about on last night. We decided to do the Carolina connections, and we have connected the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and we are talking about those little foxes.
Yes.
And evidently, somebody don't want us to talk about that, but it's been a good week, and we are here. We're gonna jump right in. We're gonna keep flowing with where Miss Andrea had what she was talking about. We're gonna continue the flow. You know, last night we talked about the little foxes, and we started out and laid a foundation for it. So if you did not get to see that show, go back and listen to When Life Speaks. You will get the beginning of that show, and then come on back over here. And whatever you missed today, listen to us again at 4 o'clock tomorrow. But we were talking tonight. We were going to be talking about the justifications or invitations for that little fox. So we're going to be talking about that on tonight, and hopefully we'll stay on. And we will get through the rest of this show. But you know what? Make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, make sure that you share this show with somebody, because evidently somebody needs it.
Yes. Yes. Other than the two of us.
Yes. Other people need it too.
Yes.
But you said that you already shared the poem from last week. From yesterday.
The poem from last week, and I was getting ready to go into the ABCs. I had just touched on the A. I had given the scripture, but I hadn't gone into that.
Okay.
So that's where we were. We were in that review part. So
well, we can continue on with the review part and talk about the A, the B, A, B, and C, and then we'll go into the justifications.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we were in the A. We talked about that we abstain from all appearance of evil, and
Mm-hmm.
that went a little bit of a different way than I thought it was going to go last night. But it was good. It was really good.
Yeah.
And you all have to go back. You have to listen. But it's like, because I never thought about it as being your appearance, the way that you look and carry yourself. And Miss Andrea brought that out like last night, and I was like, oh, that's good, because I didn't look at it. We always look at it on the opposite side of,
Right.
don't do this because it's going to appear wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But your appearance, I was like, yeah, that will make you think.
Yeah, because we're representing. That's what threw us, because we started talking about representing. The fact that we're not only representing ourselves, we're representing our homes, and we're representing God. We're representing the kingdom, and what a difference that makes.
And then we went on to our behavior, and we talked about our behavior and how we need to be not so quick to react to something.
Right.
We need to be better at responding to things and not just reacting, because even with our behavior, that can flow in with that appearance thing.
Right.
And we don't want to compromise even in our behavior and how we handle things. And then we also talked about our conversation. And how easy it was. So it's so easy to move into a conversation with somebody instead of just saying, I can remove myself from this and I don't have to sit and listen to it. I don't have to partake in it. And we talked about being in those places where you sitting and you partaking in stuff and people point you out and say, you don't belong here.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We talked about that yesterday.
So we want you to go back and listen to the show from yesterday and connect it to this particular show, because we decided just to bring the two together and just share with you those things to make those connections so we can make those changes in our lives, because sometimes we don't look at those little things. We think those little things don't mean a lot. But I remember a song, and that song was like from kindergarten, and it's something that's been a long time ago. But it was a little by little by little by little by big things get done. And it was like just talking about just little things and how you start little and you keep doing it. And they were just teaching us you can do the big thing, but it's going to be little bit by little bit. And then I thought about that even yesterday, and I was like, those little things can build up to big things.
That's right. You're
and
right.
and then once they get the big things, that's when we're like, oh, how did I get here? Now I want to deal with it. When you could have dealt with it when it was a little thing and it could have been taken care of like really quick. But we let it get to be a big thing. And I thought about babies too, how when the babies are little, everybody's like, oh, that's so cute.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They're like, everything is cute.
Yes. And one other thing that we talked about yesterday also was how do we get in the place where we are compromising? What is it that causes us to compromise? And that was part of our Carolina conversation yesterday, because we said sometimes it could be fear.
Yes.
It could be fear of rejection, could be fear of criticism. And the biggest one I think we covered yesterday was wanting to fit in.
Yes, because that's a big one that a lot of people deal with. And then it's amazing to me how it even starts out in young kids when they're little. Even when they're like in preschool, if you watch them, they do stuff because they want to fit in with the other kids. And to be that individual and to be able to stand alone is like, I say, you have to have that confidence from the inside out.
Right.
And I watch a lot of kids and they do what the other kids do. It's like, and as adults, we'll do it too. Because people are dressing this way. Oh, I'm just going to dress that way. Or people, and if somebody does dress the way they want to, or they have their personality in the way and they're comfortable with it, a lot of people are saying, well, why are they dressing like that? Because that's wrong. It's like, who told you that was wrong? Like, if they're wearing their business suit and their heels and they really loving that, and you're saying, well, that's wrong. How can you say that's wrong? Who gave you the authority to say, that was wrong? But a lot of people will back down and they'll go with what the majority is doing. And sometimes I wonder, where do we get that from? Do you have any thoughts on that, or how that comes about, like in us?
I think sometimes we don't spend enough time with ourselves. And when I say that, so many times you hear conversations with people and they're talking about finding themselves. I didn't know who I was, and I don't know who I am in God. So when these things happen and we don't take time for self-discovery and we don't take time to really understand things like self-image or delve into why our self-esteem is what it is, then we are at a point where we tend to go along to get along. And that covers a lot of territory. Sometimes it covers conversation. It covers appearance, it covers behavior, it covers, you know, what you know, how you are at work, how you are at home, how you are at church, and anything and everything that you tend to do. But I think that's where it stems from. And we also, when we were talking yesterday, in the midst of that conversation, we were saying how important these things are in dealing with and understand compromise in raising our children so that they are not falling prey to bullying.
Yes.
Because that is where a lot of that comes from. If I can make you feel bad about yourself and you begin to fold in and you begin to not want to participate in things and not wanting to go or whatever, then there's something wrong with that. There's
Yes.
something wrong with that. And one of the things that they always talk about with children, especially, um, when when you are suspect that they may be having some issues or some problems, they will ask you, has their behavior changed? You
Wow.
know, what is different about their behavior? Are they talking to their friends like they used to? Are they sleeping more than they used to? Are they, you know, what patterns in their behavior have changed? So I think that most of the time, the last thing we want to do is to be different from the crowd,
Yeah.
you know, be
Yeah.
different from the crowd. And I think that starts early. And we have to start parenting early and parenting a little differently than we used to,
Yes.
so that we are consistently building in that self-esteem. Because if I feel okay with me, then
Right.
there's not a whole lot you can say to me.
Yes.
It's gonna bother me. It's not, you know. And I used to think about that because somebody told me something one time. They said rejection is only one man's opinion.
True.
Only one man's opinion.
That is
So
true.
if you say something that makes me think, oh goodness, I'm not a good person at, and I shouldn't, you know, even be here doing what I'm doing. But then if I lift my head up and look around and think, but who are you?
Right.
Who are you to tell me? Just like you said before, who are you to tell me? Who made you, you know, judge and jury? Who made you the fashion police? Who made you
Yes.
the one to dictate over and above what God has already dictated and put into motion? So
Right.
I think securing ourselves in who we are and
Yes.
who God made us to be would keep us from wanting the crowd and wanting to be like everybody else.
Yes. Because that individual and to really like love on yourself and be that confident in you, then
Hmm.
you won't compromise in a lot
Right.
of things. It's like, no, this is what I believe, and I'm gonna go with this. Is people can speak against it, but because you believe it and that's your heart and that's where it is, and because you have that confidence, then those little foxes don't get in there because you already built up your fence. You
Right.
have your confidence,
Hmm.
and you're not allowing all those little things to come in because you're dealing with it as it is coming.
Hmm.
And that is something though, because if we deal with the children at a very early age, then as they're going into school and as they're going into even into preschool, they are confident about who they are. And
Hmm.
it's a lot of our lives are spent finding ourselves.
Yeah. And then when we find ourselves, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Yes. It's like I find that as I am getting older, I get more and more comfortable with me. Um, so I'm like, man, I wish I would have had this when I was like a teenager. It's like because the compromise can put you compromise in allowing those little foxes to stay there can put you in some bad places sometimes. It
Very
can
much.
do that mentally to you.
Hmm.
It can do that where you're dealing with stuff year after year after year because you allowed that stuff in and you believe what the little foxes were saying, even if it's like the little whispers and stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
allow that stuff to get into you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you identify with it.
Right. Right.
And that's something we don't need to identify with. And we were coming in today talking about justifications and our invitations. And I love what it's like when people have those questions or they have those things, that be like, what's the harm in that? It's
Yeah.
it's only fun, you know.
Yeah.
And those little things like that, and you're like, really? Just like we were saying on yesterday, it's like, oh, that's okay when somebody speaks around you and they're saying all this vulgar stuff or doing all these things, and you say,
Mhm.
oh, that's okay, you
Yeah.
know.
And
And
they're trying to apologize to you.
right,
They're saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know you're a Christian or whatever, and I know you love God. I am so sorry." And we're turning around going, "Oh no, that's okay.
yeah.
No,
No, it's
it's
not
not okay."
okay. Thank you for acknowledging that. Can y'all please change the conversation?
Now that we know it, let's do something about it. How about that?
Yeah, let's switch it up. Let us change it. Because we say those little things, we'll be like, well, that's not gonna hurt anybody. That's not gonna hurt that person, or that's just who I am. I hear people a lot be like, oh, that's just me. And you're being like mean to somebody, or you're downgrading somebody, or you're gossiping about that person. But then if you get called on the carpet about it, oh, that's just me. That's just how I am. And I was like, no, that can't be you. If you saying that you love God and that you're serving the Lord, because my thing is, I'm like, God loves people more than anything. He
Mm-hmm.
died for us,
Mm-hmm.
and he loves us just that much. So we should be in a position where we really believe the scripture that by this shall all men know that we are his disciples, that we have love
Mm-hmm.
one for another. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to be able to love people. It's not that I'm going to love everything that you do,
Right.
but I should be able to love you
Mm-hmm.
and encourage you and build you up. And I shouldn't be the little fox in your life trying to eat at you and tear you down.
That's right. That's right. These things that we're mentioning tonight, Angie, these justifications are like red flags and no warning signs too.
Yes.
Because I think anytime you hear like some of the things that Angie has said already, anytime you hear these things, you should go on high alert and say, okay, what am I really doing here? Like anytime you say to yourself, well, who's gonna know?
Yes, that's a good one.
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody gonna know.
There's a problem there because there shouldn't be a reason for anybody not to know.
Not to know.
So if there, I used to tell my kids when they were coming up, if you're confused about right and wrong, here's your litmus test. If you can stand in front of me and tell me what you did with all confidence, then for you, it was the right thing to do.
Mm,
But if you cannot stand in front of me and be able to tell me what you did
yes.
or why you did it, you know it's wrong because you don't want to own up to it. If it's right, you don't have a problem owning up to it. If it's
True.
wrong, you're going to keep as far away from that conversation as you possibly can, as you possibly can. So that's your, that's another little litmus test. Can I talk about it? Can I say anything about it? Am I hiding? Am I hiding?
Right.
What am I hiding? What am I concealing? What is it that I don't want to tell anybody about? Red flag. It's red.
Yeah, red flag.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because even when people want to hide, I mean, yeah, because when they want to hide, and that's a good thing, though. It's like if I can stand in front of whomever,
Mm-hmm.
just say what I need to say, then I'm good.
You may be wrong,
Yeah,
but it's good.
but it's good.
Yeah, it's good because there, if you're wrong, there's a lesson to be learned. There's an
Right.
opportunity for your thinking to be turned around. There's a chance for you to at least have a better understanding of the situation or of the circumstance. But if you can't tell me if there's something about it that makes you embarrassed, or
Yeah.
something about it that makes you say, and that's always the thing. Because here was another one, um was I don't see that in the Bible.
Oh,
I
that is a
I don't
good.
see that. Where does it say that in the Bible? Now sometimes that's a good thing, because
Yes.
people will manipulate scripture.
Yes, they will.
But other times, you don't have to see verbatim, I should not go next door and hit my neighbor in the head with a hammer. That's not going to be.
That's not gonna be there.
But you know that that is not the right thing to do if I love
Right.
my neighbor as myself.
Yes.
So there's some things that are not going to be explicit, some things are implicit. But if I want to please him,
Yes.
then it's kind of a no-brainer in that aspect. So for people who will say to me, well, that's not in the word, my thing is, if Jesus was with you,
Yes.
would you do the same thing?
Yes.
And if you would, then you're okay.
Then you're okay.
At least you put yourself in that zone to be taught or to learn or to better understand why that's not the right thing to do. But if you can't, and that's kept me in good places a lot of
Yes.
times, because I think, no, I wouldn't want him to be with me in this situation, or at this place, or in this circumstance.
Yes.
So if he can't go with me, and he's with me all the
All the
time,
time. Yes. All the
that's it.
time.
That fox just grew.
Yes. It's like the scripture where it's telling us that do everything as unto the Lord.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
And when you think about that, and I took it, it's been years ago, but I took it like to the point of like even like we were talking about appearance, the way that I look, the way that I would dress myself, and then the way that even to keep my home, in the way that we represented everything. So I was like, everything needs to be done as unto the Lord, not for people,
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to say or applaud you or say, "Oh, that's good." But is He pleased with
Yes.
everything that I'm doing? Is He pleased with me saying this or me acting this way or me doing this thing? Because if even if they're in agreement with me, but it's not pleasing to Him, then I'm wrong.
Right. Right.
So it's like pleasing the heart of God. And I think sometimes we're not walking towards that like we were like, well, what I say, like we used to. A lot of people are not. They have, it's like we come to a place where people do compromise, and they do have those little foxes and stuff that are spoiling their vine, spoiling their relationship
Mm-hmm.
with the Lord, and even spoiling their relationship with people. Because I was like, people don't even have a regard for other human beings
Mm-hmm.
anymore, because all those little things like they put on, like we were talking about on yesterday, that they put on TV or they have in a movie or whatever, and you keep seeing this stuff over and over and over again, and it desensitizes you to the point you're like, oh, well, it's like you were talking about with the commercials and stuff, and talking about the show and
Yeah.
how they took them off the air because of one word.
Mm-hmm.
And now they be saying word after word after word.
Desensitize is a good word. Tolerate, we talked about,
Yes,
we have just become a people, we just tolerate things. We are so accepting of things. We don't question things anymore.
right.
And that, I think, leads to what you were saying. And because of that, we don't remove ourselves from situations that we don't really have to We don't have to open ourselves up to
Right.
the things that we allow. We allow a lot of things now that we just would
Yeah.
not in the past. We just wouldn't do it.
We wouldn't at all. I remember, and it's been years ago, but I remember watching. I was at a hotel. I went there. I was going to a conference doing something, but I turned on the TV and I was like, they're playing the same thing here that they were playing where I lived at the time. And I was like, this is odd to me. This is different. And everybody was looking at me crazy. But I was like, do y'all see this? It's like, because to me, it was like you're trying to change the mindset of the people. And it used to be like if you were in North Carolina and I'm in South Carolina, we may see some of the same programs, but not at the same time.
Yeah, right.
And the stations and stuff would be different. So they would be playing things that was totally different. And you was like, oh, y'all watching that? I didn't get to see that. But then that particular, and I was talking to somebody else who was somewhere totally different from me, but they were watching the exact same thing at the exact same. I was like, oh, it just, to me, it was like, oh, what are they doing? They're playing everything. You're seeing it, everybody's seeing it at the exact same time. You watch it on the same time frame. It's the same shows. And I was like, this, because it might have seemed like a little thing to somebody else. And other people may not have even paid it any attention. But yeah, I was like, though even with things with TV and stuff, we have to be so careful that even with the small things that we just don't allow them to play and play and play. And that's where some people put their children in front of that TV or those videos, and that's what they hear and see all day long.
Mm-hmm. And we call it that one-eyed monster. That's a,
Yes.
that's a one-eyed monster. Yeah, the kids are quiet, but and the things that we now, and you kind of touched on it a little earlier, things that we think are funny today,
Yes.
that take on a life of their own.
Yes.
Sometimes when I'm on my phone and these reels come up, and I see the toddler twerking, or I see the the 2-year-old, 3-year-old who can barely speak, using the F word or whatever, and the people who are videoing are laughing in the background. And I'm thinking, why is this funny?
Right. Right.
Why have we gotten to the point? What happened to our morals and our values? And I am not suggesting or trying to suggest by any stretch of the imagination that we all have to look like we took ugly pills and just, can't smile and don't have fun, and you just, all pious and all of that.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all, but I think also we can go back to what you were saying earlier. Is God going to be pleased?
Right.
Is he pleased with that? Is it worth? Is my relationship with you worth risking my relationship with God?
Right.
We've
Yeah.
got to think before we act, and think before we speak, and think before we allow some of the things that we allow. And I'll look at some things and I think, what? I'm just doing a double take neck jerk all night. What? When did that come from? When did that get to be okay? How did we get to this place? And how can I win a soul that does not know him when we're in the same place doing the same thing?
Right.
And
Right.
there's no difference in my lifestyle than your lifestyle.
Yes.
We are a chosen generation.
Yes. A
You know,
royal priesthood. Yes.
there should be something different about me, so that somebody will say, I want to know that God that you serve.
Yes.
I want to know how, everybody's getting laid off, pink slips everywhere, people don't have jobs, things are happening, but you're just as calm. Well, I'm calm because the job was never my source.
Right.
He's
Right.
my source.
Yes.
He allowed me to have the job, and I'm crazy enough to think if he allowed me to have this one, he's gonna allow me to have another one. It is not his plan for me to be without. It's not his plan for me to do without. That is not his will for my life. It's not the way that goes. But I can't tell you about him in a manner that what is the if I be lifted up, if I be lifted
Yes.
up, I'll draw all
I'll
men.
draw.
I'll draw them. But how can you lift me up when you're down in the muck and the mire?
Yes.
When you're not representing me, you're not, how can you be my ambassador? How can you do that? And there was a comedian that came on one time and she had just a foul mouth and she's giving all just stringing these expletives along. And then at the end, she says, I'm a lady. And I'm like, based on what?
Yeah.
can't, can't be based on your conversation. I think he's got a right to be confused.
Yes, it happens. I'm just, hi, Diane. Thank you for joining. We missed you at work. That's my coworker. She retired. But yes, because so many things have changed. We are living epistles. Yes, Linda, the only Bible some people read.
Oh, that's
And
good.
there should be a difference. It's a line that separates. Yes, ma'am. And I
Mhm.
think people are so quick to just compromise now. It just because Sinbad did like a comedy on it, and I know people like Sinbad, but he
Yeah.
clean. I watch him. But he was talking about how, he said, well, little Johnny get a trophy because he just showed up to the game. He was like, not everybody wins. But now they want to give everybody got to have a trophy.
Yeah.
Everybody got to, even if they lose, you didn't really lose, We're going to give you a trophy too.
Johnny.
He said Johnny never got up off the bench, but Johnny had a trophy. And we have that mentality now where it's like people just compromise. It's like everybody, you in order to grow, you're going to be faced with challenges. You're going to be faced with different things, and you have to learn not to compromise in those situations and to stand up for yourself and to believe in what you and who you believe in, which is Christ. You're going to stand up strong. And not everybody is going to like it. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just that they may not agree. That doesn't mean that you're always right either. But we have to watch our compromise. It's so strong now where people just like, well, I'm not going to say anything, or I'm just going to let them do this just because I don't want like the confrontation with somebody. Because if I stand up,
go ahead.
No, I was saying if I stand up for what I know is right, then it's like back like we talked about before. I'm gonna get rejected. They're not gonna like me. They're gonna reject me. They're gonna ostracize me. They're gonna push me off to the side, and we can't let that like destroy our relationship with the Father. It can't destroy our relationship even with ourselves.
We've gotten to the point too where we put things in degrees. When we get into it's not that bad. It's just
Yeah.
the little sin.
That's that little one.
This little sin, that little fox is pushing you right into that little sin, And it's interesting to me the way that we look at things. And this is the example that I want to get the 10 Commandments that thou shalt not steal.
Right.
Very clear. Thou shalt not steal. But if somehow I've gotten to a point of thinking, not me personally, but people as a group have gotten to the point of thinking, okay, if I'm not robbing you, I'm not stealing.
Yeah.
I didn't hold you up with a gun. That's that justification. What I did is not that bad. Right. But stealing is stealing.
Stealing.
Theft is theft.
Right.
If you are are taking those extra paper clips, that ream of paper,
Mm-hmm.
ordering more than you know that you should, so that you know that there is an excess,
Yes.
you will now have access to, you know. But that's not stealing. That's not stealing. And now I hear the term stealing time. And some companies
Yes.
are really cracking down, and people are losing their jobs for stealing time.
Time.
That's actually what they call it when you're clocking in for somebody who's not there yet. And somebody tells, girl, just go ahead, put the time card over there. It'll be all right. They're not here yet. They won't know. They won't see. Stealing. That is still
Yes.
stealing. The Bible isn't, gray.
No.
It is very black.
Very clear.
It is very clear what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And if you cannot figure out the line, the litmus test, the sentence that you ask yourself is, would he be pleased?
Right.
Is God going to be pleased with this? Is God going to be pleased with me in this road rage situation? Is God going to be pleased with me for cussing somebody out, for striking an individual that I don't even know? Is
Right.
God going to be pleased with that? Is he going to be pleased with my response or with my reaction? And that's something, Angie, I'd like to explore at some point in time, is response versus reaction.
Yes.
There are some nuances there. There are some differences within that. But if we are going to be the change that we want to see,
Right.
if we're going to be the people, the person, the individual that God intended us to be, to bring the kingdom into the earth,
Yes.
to represent him, to be, an ambassador for him, then we got to watch the little foxes.
We do. We really do. We have to watch those little foxes. And because if we're not paying attention and we become desensitized or we become to the point where we're trying to hide from it, it's not going to help us at all. It will hinder us in the long run. But
Mhm.
I wanted to share this poem that Miss A had written. You wrote this a while ago,
Long time ago.
and I'm gonna try to read it. You, I love when Miss A read her poems though, because I love her voice. She has the rhythm and everything. So but she had written this poem, and then we want to end with this on tonight because our time is like time be flying. But then I was out for a little bit, so but we're going to read this, and I want you to think about this weekend. I want you to think about it. I want you to marinate on it. Go back, listen to this again, and just listen to the words of the poem. And it says to ask yourself these questions. How do I live when I think no one's looking? What do I do thinking no one can see? Am I living my life by God's word and instructions? Am I the example he wants me to be? Am I speaking his words of healing and faith? Do I encourage someone when they're down? Do I carry myself in an ungodly way when there's no other believer around? Do I gossip about other people and cloak it as knowledge for prayer? Are carnal influences feeding my spirit when nobody else is there? I must be Christ like in all that I do, set apart so that others might see how I live when I think no one's looking, is the true test of Christ in me. And those questions made me even think about me. I was like, ooh, okay. Am I doing what he wants when nobody else is when I think nobody else is looking?
And someone is always looking.
Always looking.
Someone is always looking. There is, if you ever watch a crime show, if you ever watch any kind of forensic evidence, anything, people always think that they get
Right.
away with it. But the reality of it is somebody always sees, whether it's somebody walking on the other side of the street, getting into their car, got home from work, whatever. Somebody sees, they see accidentally, but there are also people who are just simply watching you. They're
Yes.
watching your response to things. They're watching how you handle things. They're watching whether or not you're going to blow up or fly hot, or whether you're going to forgive, or whether what you're doing. And I think it was Linda said, we're the only Bible that some people will
Yes.
ever read.
Yes.
What's in your chapter?
Yes. Yes.
What's in your chapter?
What's in your chapter? That's what we're
On
gonna
your
end it.
page, girl? What's on your page?
Yes. What are they reading about you
What are
off
they
your
reading
pages?
about you? That's it.
Wow.
That's
What's
it.
in your chapter? That's something for you all to think about for the rest of the weekend. Yes, Diane, definitely food for thought. Think about that this weekend. What are other people reading? What are other people seeing? What is your chapter speaking to somebody
Mhm,
else? And
mhm.
if you need to change some things, you can rewrite that. You
That's
can
right.
rewrite some things
That's
in there to get on the right track, because that's where we want everybody to be. But remember, guys, these little foxes, don't let them grow into big foxes. Deal with them when they're little. And if you see any area where you saw yourself on tonight or even last night, it's time to fix it. As long as there's breath in our bodies, we can get those things on track and be good to ourselves and end up being good to others too, and keep our relationship with our Father, right?
right.
So this is whole and beautiful. I thank you, Ms. Hines, for joining me tonight. I thank you for coming in with the Carolina conversation.
Conversation.
And we may do this again sometimes, guys. So be
We
listening
just
out.
thank you for having me. North Carolina enjoyed partnering with South Carolina on this topic. I thank you, Angie. Thank you for being willing to even try to do this. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Well, guys, that is it for tonight. I am Angela the Oliphant, allowing you to see, hear, and know that Whole and Beautiful is not just your destination, it is most definitely your journey. So join me again next week, 7 p.m. on Friday, 4 p.m. for the replay on Saturday. We'll be right here. And remember, go back and listen to When Life Speaks, and then come in and listen to Whole and Beautiful, and you'll get the whole entire picture. And we pray that this has been good for you, because it's been good for us. Have
Yes.
a have a great weekend, guys. Good night. Talk to y'all soon.
See you, Angie.
See you.